Let me start with saying what I'm not going to do. I'm not here to teach you HTML5. There are a lot of books, lot of websites, lot of code snippets, tutorials available out over there which do the job of teaching HTML5 to a really good extent. So if I'm not going to teach you HTML5, and I cannot, in next 1 hour we'll probably cover 1% of the entire ocean of HTML5. So what I am planning to do? The only thing that I'm planning to do in next 1 hour is to infect you all with my enthusiasm of HTML5 so that when you go back, you feel compelled to look into those books and tutorials and learn on your own. And in order to achieve this, there is going to be no theory, no dry theory session. I'm going to show you 10 awesome demos, each more complex than the previous one, and then I'm going to talk or discuss about how to build these demos from scratch. During this process, you will learn a couple of new concepts, couple of new APIs, new technology, but these will only serve as pointers when you go back and when you dig up the technology. So without wasting any more time, let's start, and believe me, next 1 hour is going to be full of fun, full of enthusiasm, full of entertainment, and full of magic. So here is that magical language that I'm going to talk about today, HTML. Well, not exactly HTML, there is something missing over here, and what is missing? 5. And that 5 is really, I can talk that really for 1 hour, but I have to complete the presentation. It's very important because the technology that HTML5 introduces in the web space takes the web development to the next level. How does it do it? Believe me, this is only first and the last theory slide. So it makes the web technologies fast, secure, more responsive, and highly interactive. Each demo that we are going to see in next 1 hour will have some kind of interaction with the user. Not just interactive, but it can be used to build stunningly beautiful user interface by providing a lot of support to the animation and graphics. Of course, animation and graphics is not the only thing that takes HTML5 as one of the very popular technologies. It's also the ability to directly hook into the hardware and talk with very low-level APIs, which allows you to create complex applications as complex as the desktop. I'm going to show you a couple of really nice examples to how to do that. HTML5 also bridges the gap, as we'll see, between online and offline, server and client to a great extent, between 2D and 3D. It helps to development by a great extent by providing a lot of new constructs in JavaScript like document.querySelectorAll or document.ClassList and all that. And finally, it adds a lot of security stuff to the browser. So with this much theory, let's move on to 10 magic moments. The star rating is based on a scale of 5, and it's not about how cool or awesome the demo is, but it's only about how easy or difficult it is to build. So here is the first magic moment of the day. And just a small point to note, feel free to clap whenever you want to clap. So with this, let's start with our first demo for the day. This is something called as a rainbow spiral. If this doesn't interest you and this doesn't make you clap, probably this will make you clap. Look at the right corner of this diagram. I have a couple of controls, and I'm going to change them, and the rainbow spiral changes the rendering the way. Look at this. No, I did not hear any claps. Shall I draw? Okay. You know what? This code, it took me half an hour to build. It contains 2 lines of CSS and 5 lines of JavaScript. And I'm going to show you how to build this. And for building this, let me put, by the way, those controls on the corner that you see, they are also part of HTML5. This is called input range component. HTML5 gives you a lot of components like color component, calendar component, progress meter component, a drag, a range component, and all that. And in order to reveal the magic, let me drag this number of figures to the minimum, and let me drag this angle of rotation to the minimum so that you will understand what is happening. There are a couple of squares that are embedded inside each other. The number of figures merely increases. Look at this. And each internal square is rotated by a specific angle with respect to the outer square, and that you can see over here. Look at this. And when I combine these two effects, so there is one CSS line to control the number of figures, JavaScript line to control the number of figures, there is a CSS line to control the angle of rotation, and that gradient and all that you see, the rainbow effect, is one more CSS line. And there is a small for loop which just takes the number of figures and continuously renders it in that for loop. And with these two probable lines of code, this is how what you can really render. HTML5 rocks, you know. This is the code over there. Lot of new constructs over here. Can you read from the back? Okay, if you cannot, I can talk about it. So this effect, this rainbow effect that you see, before CSS3 or HTML5, it was only possible using background images. With CSS3, now you don't know, no more need background images. You can have gradients, linear as well as radial gradients, embedded within the language. So you can say I have a linear gradient, and the linear gradient starts from the left top vertex and goes right till the bottom right vertex. You see it from top to bottom because the figure is rotated, but otherwise it's from left top to right bottom. And then you can give color stops. At 0% it must be red, and at 16% orange, and 33% yellow, and all that. So that is what the first line does. The first CSS line gives the gradient. The second CSS line gives the rotation. It says transform. So this is again a new CSS construct which will tell you how to transform the object. Transform, rotate by a couple of degrees. This transform is a CSS3 construct. However, browsers implement it in a vendor specific way. So for example, this code which is running on Chrome doesn't use transform, it uses -webkit-transform. WebKit is the Chrome engine. Safari also uses WebKit, so in Safari also you will say -webkit-transform. In Mozilla you will say -moz-transform. In Internet Explorer you will say -ms-transform. Little bit sad because then you will have to write a code that spans all the browsers separately, but this is temporary till the complete support is added for HTML5, and then slowly these vendor prefixes will be deprecated. But till now, you have to say this transform stuff and using the vendor prefix. So this is how I rotate a square, and then I add a small JavaScript code that takes the number of squares and just renders one inside the other. Let's go to the second magic moment. Let's see what happens over here. There is a small button. If you cannot read from the back, let me tell you, the first button on the left says switch on or switch off the camera. Let me switch on the camera. You can see that some local host wants your access to the camera. Camera is on and you can see me. Believe me, there is no plugin. The microphone and the webcam access is now one call away. If you say navigator.get user media, you go to the camera. Okay, so you can see this. It's not just the camera, but see, look at this. I can change the image effects. Probably do a lot of saturation, change. Okay, invert the colors. Look at this, the photo film effect. Do a lot of blurring, and I still don't hear a couple of claps, so I'm going to show you one more thing. No, wait, I'll show you one more thing. On the right side, there is a button to take the snapshot, and if I take the snapshot, exactly what effects were applied, you can see in that image. Okay, cool? So one line to take the photo, 2 lines to take the image, and 1 line to do all these effects. That's how the magic is revealed. So let me show you how to do it. The camera access is done by a new API called Get User Media. Again, the browsers have their own versions, WebKit Get User Media, Moz Get User Media, and all that. So there is a Get User Media which captures the video. This is a very interesting code. I don't want to go into the details. The presentation is already available online. I'll give you the URL later on. You can go through it. On the top slide, part of the slide, you can see that there is a new video tag which again is introduced in HTML5 so that you don't need any plugins for videos. Video support, audio support is now just a one tag away. So what I'm doing is I'm just writing one tag called video. I'm capturing the stream using Get User Media, and as you can see the last line of this slide, I'm just setting the source of the video by creating an object from the media stream. Once I set it that, and once the video is set to autoplay, the video will continuously render without me doing anything. So already, what, 4 lines of code? That's all about the video. How do you give the special effects that I talked about? One CSS3 line called WebKit filters. Again, WebKit is the vendor specific stuff. Filter is what CSS3 introduces. CSS3 gives a couple of 10 different filters that you can try. So you have grayscale filters, sepia, saturation, hue rotate, just go and look up the terminology, what it means. So here is a simple example. I'm going to apply these filters on this nice image, and you can see that these filters are immediately applied. Whatever filter is on the left hand side, I have applied, and you can see this image changing. So that's how I have applied the filters. So that's all about the filters. I still have to talk about the photo, and that is done by a new construct in HTML5 called canvas. Canvas is like your paintbrush. It will give you an area and it will allow you to draw whatever you want. I'm going to have a separate demo on canvas where we'll talk more details about canvas. Just now let's understand that what this canvas is doing. Look at this. It is getting a context. Let's not go in the details. Long back when I started studying C, my teacher told me that don't think more. Every time you write a C program, you should start with #include stdio.h. Just like the way I'm saying that every time you write a canvas, you're going to say canvas.getContext2D. Once you get the context, you clear the rectangle because I want to put the new image over there. Then I draw an image. Look at this document.querySelector is a new API that JavaScript introduces with HTML5. It will tell you, it will give you the video element, and draw image will take the contents of this video and it will draw on the canvas. And finally, whatever is the image tag, I am using the data URL, I am using the canvas data and converting into the image. So these 4 lines of code, this is exactly the code that is running on. There is nothing new running on the background. If this code is planted over there, you will see that the image snapshot can be taken. That was the second magic moment. Cool, third. Okay, we are going now to 3-star. Here is a cool cube, and see what happens. Okay, and it's not just the rotation of the cube, but if you see, there is the face that is over here. There is a video which is running. On one face, there is a timer. On other face, there is an image. One of the faces is blank, and you see that the video controls are also rotating along with the cube. You know, so each of these faces is precisely an HTML div, and whatever you can add in an HTML tag, you can add inside this, and it will work perfectly as it would work otherwise. So on the next slide, I'm going to tell you how to build this cube. There are a couple of steps, so let's go slowly over this. This is probably one of the most complex demos of this entire discussion. So first thing is a cube has 6 faces. So let's get these faces right. I have created an outer div and a couple of cube face divs inside it. So there will be 6 cube face divs inside the cube outer div. There are a couple of styles associated with them. And once I create these divs, they will be overlapping over each other. As of now, there are just 6 divs standing over one another. So the first thing I need to do is to rotate these divs so that 2 divs are facing like this, 2 divs are facing like this, and one is like this and other is like this. So in the first step, I'll rotate, and in the second place, I'll translate so that they go to their appropriate places. So how do I rotate? So what do I do? Look at this. What do I do? Let me hover and show you what is going to happen. This face is going to rotate like this. This face is going to rotate like this. One of the faces is going to rotate by 90 degrees. Other face is going to rotate through y-axis. So what is happening is for each face, I am applying an appropriate rotate parameter. As you can see, I have already talked about the transform. There I just talked about rotate, which was rotating around z-axis. Here I am talking about rotate y, which is rotating around y-axis. So you can rotate not just around x, y, and z-axis, but any arbit axis. You can specify position vector and you can rotate around it. So you can have rotate around y-axis, x-axis, and all that. And if all these faces are on one another, and when I apply individual rotate effect together, what happens is this. Okay, it's not yet a cube. The only thing that is happening over here is these faces have been rotated. So now instead of all 6 faces being here, one face is like this, other is like this, one is like this, other is like this, other is like this, and other is like this, but they are still passing through the same center. The next step that I want to do is really push them apart so that one face goes here, other goes here, third goes here, fourth goes here, and like that. And probably here is some little bit understanding of rotation and 3D geometry will help. So it looks like that this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and this is z-axis. So one face I need to move to negative x, one to positive x, one to positive y, one to negative y, and all that. Unfortunately, it's not like that. Let me tell you why it's not like that. Before that, let me show you a small demonstration. So these are two divs. One is red, one is blue. And what I'm doing is, one is red and one is green. What I'm doing is, I'm going to apply the same effect. I'm going to translate a div and then rotate. So the green div, I'm going to translate by some 100, 150 pixel, and then I'm going to rotate by 30 degrees. Let's see how it goes. So, fair enough. Translate and then rotate. It's just one WebKit transform which says translate x 100px space rotate 30 degrees. The second div, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate and then translate. Let's see what happens. Again, the same, but the parameters are reversed. I rotate and I translate. Unfortunately, the effects are not same, and this is slightly difficult to digest. We would really expect that translate followed by rotate must be same as rotate followed by translate. The reason why they are not same is that when you rotate an object, it's not just the object but the entire coordinate system that rotates with it. So when I rotate an object, the x-axis is no more pointing here, it's also rotated and it points over here. So when I say rotate 30 followed by translate 100, it does a rotate 30 followed by translate 100 and it goes somewhere else. If we understand this, it will be very easy to understand how to implement the cube. So what is happening over here is, now I have rotated one of the divs by probably 90 degrees like this. So I should translate towards the x-axis. But what is happening? Because the div has been rotated, the coordinate axis system has also been rotated. So the original z, which was like this, is now pointing like this, and therefore instead of translate x, I must do translate z. If you think for each of the div like this out of the 6, you will understand that the coordinate system has been translated in such a way that you only need translate z for each of them. And therefore, you can see on the slide now that after those rotates, everywhere what I'm doing is translate z, translate z, translate z, translate z, and the reason is that the coordinate system has been rotated and you are effectively going to translate only through z. So if I do the translation now, I'm going to do translation and I'm going to do rotation and then translation, and this is now the resultant effect. Look at this. If you have not seen, let me just repeat it once again. See the divs being rotated and being translated. Cool, but unfortunately this is no more a cube. Why this is no more a cube? Because you are standing exactly in front of the cube, so the front and the back faces overlap, and this is not visible, this is not visible, this is not visible, this is not visible. The only way to make them visible is to change your perspective. Perspective is nothing but a technical term to understand how an image falls on the eye. If you're standing in front of railway routes, they are parallel, but you see them converging somewhere at the end. That's because of perspective. So let me move out away from the image to a point such that the front face and the back face no more appear of the same size. The front face probably appears a little larger, the back face will appear smaller because of the perspective. It's just like what this clicker is appearing bigger than the door of the conference room, not because it's actually bigger, but because of the perspective. So if I move a little bit away and if I change the perspective, so that's what the first line of this code is doing. I'm adding a perspective of say 1200. Again, this is a CSS3 construct to add a perspective. If I add a perspective of say 1200, and let's see what happens. Now you can see that 3 has been moved beyond 1. So you can see 1, you can see 3, they are of different sizes, and because they are of different sizes, you can see a connecting face at this side and a connecting face at this side. Unfortunately, this is again not a cube, of course it is a cube, it doesn't appear like a cube, probably because we are standing exactly in front of the image, so this and this faces are no more visible. So what can I do is I have already moved away, the only thing I can move is in the x and y space. So so that's what the second line of this code does. WebKit perspective origin, it moves somewhere that 300 pixels in x and 200 whatever pixels in y, and if I add this transform origin, this is how. Okay, there is no magic. Okay, it's just change of perspective origin, and your cube is generated. Still, it's a static cube. I have not yet added any movement to it. That's probably 10 lines of good old JavaScript code. I'm going to run a switch case over a couple of keys. And every time, say for example, I place left arrow, right arrow, I'm going to rotate the entire figure by say 90y or plus 90y, minus 90y, plus 90z, minus 90z and all that. And that's done by, you see over here that I am doing style.webkit transform. So this is how I can change the CSS properties using JavaScript. And you can also see that I'm not individually rotating each face. Each face is around is enclosed inside a cube outer. So the only thing that I'm changing is cube outer. So any effect which is applied on that outer face is immediately propagated to the inner face. So that's how these 4 slides explain how we have built a cube which rotates using your keys. Okay, again with this big discussion, let's move on to something easy to build. Let's try what it does. I'm trying to find out what is my location over here. Okay, allow. I don't know what it gives, but it's probably, so I'll show you what this code does, then it will be easy to understand. So with HTML5, it is now possible to access your location using a new API that is provided called navigator.geolocation. This new object is given by HTML5, which will be used to detect your network settings and your location based on that. And then you can call get current position, the function on it. And if you are able to get the current position, a callback will be called by passing the position as one of the as the first parameter over that callback. And what happens when you what happens inside that position object? You can say position.coordinate.accuracy, latitude and longitude to get the latitudes and longitude of the place that you are at currently at. The rest of the code is a nice example of how you can plug in Google APIs. So this is where I have plugged in Maps API. I'm saying that I'm creating a map. I'm taking the lat long as what I have got from the navigator.geolocation, and a marker is that blue thing which tells you your position. I'm putting the marker, I'm putting a zoom level, and the map is ready to go. So it's a nice example where you can club in the HTML5 technology, the navigator.geolocation.getCurrentPosition, along with the Google Maps API, and you can have that maps effect where it just says show position and you will be able to see the position. Okay, fifth one. Let's see what happens. I put down the clicker and I lift the laptop. What is happening? This is what I was saying in the first slide, that HTML gives you ways to really talk to your hardware, in this case the accelerometer of my laptop. Of course, if there is no accelerometer, this demo will not work, for example on desktops, but otherwise HTML5 gives you an ability to, a little bit bigger code, 5 lines of code probably. What is it doing is it's adding a listener to a device orientation object, and it's saying that extract the alpha, beta and gamma parameters of the accelerometer. Alpha will indicate the direction, beta will indicate the front to back tilt, and gamma would indicate the left to right tilt. So the device orientation APIs allow us to talk to the accelerometer and get its orientation through this event object. And then what I am doing on the previous slide is there are 5 different images. There is a red, there is a green, there is a blue, there is a yellow, and on backside there is a gray image. These are 5 different images. There is not one Chrome logo. These are 5 different images, and each of this image I am rotating. As you can see over here, there is layers is what query selector all will give all these 5 layers, and I am just setting appropriate rotation for each of these 5 layers. Look at this. So rotate Y and rotate X. So rotate Y is based on gamma and rotate X is based on beta. So I am setting appropriate rotation for each of these 5 images so as to get such a cool effect. Let's try once again. Okay. So that's how you can build such a nice demo. Okay, clap, please. Okay. As I said, anybody, whenever you want to clap, please go ahead. Okay. Again, a 3-star demo. I have 20 more minutes. Fair enough. There are a lot of obvious things over here, and there are a lot of non-obvious things over here. So the first obvious thing is the animation. This does not use Flash. This does not use JavaScript. It's purely CSS based animation, and that's what HTML5 brings in, the ability to do animation. The ability to do animation without even one line of code. That's the first obvious thing. The second thing which is somewhat obvious is, you see in case of cube, the cube was rotating around itself. Here the pictures are not rotating around themselves. The pictures are rotating around a central axis. So the ability to rotate around any orbit axis is ability to do transformations around any orbit axis is something that is achieved by doing a WebKit transform origin. For WebKit, it's WebKit transform origin. In general, for CSS3, it's transform origin. So that is the second thing in this demo. The third thing in this demo is probably many of you have used this for doing attachments in your Gmail. Look at this, what happens. The ability to drag and drop, again, native in HTML5. Okay, there is no drag and drop library, no jQuery, no closure, nothing going on. Probably 5 to 10 lines of drag and drop code, which is a native ability in HTML5. So this is the third thing. One was animation, second was rotation around an orbit axis, third was drag and drop. The fourth is, let's do drag and drop over here for example, and let's see what happens when I do a back button. You see the images are changing. The ability to dissect or hack into the browser history and tell browser what to do when I press the back button. The history API of HTML5. So there's the fourth thing. When I press back button, I can hack into the history and I can say this must be done when I press a back button and all that. And now the fifth thing. I need some help from Desktop. I want to disable the Wi-Fi on this. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so I have turned off the Wi-Fi now. And what is going to happen is probably pretty risky now. I'm going to disconnect. I have disconnected the cable, it stopped. Okay, connect back. The ability to understand whether you're online or offline, something that you saw in the morning in the document, the offline editing demos, is now built into HTML5. There is one line of code that will help you to understand whether you're online or offline. So there are 5 things that I want to talk in this demo. One is transformations, other is animation, third is drag and drop, fourth is history API, and fifth is the navigator.online API. Let's go by one by one. This is what one small piece of that animation looks like. On the top part of the slide, you see that there is something called keyframes, which is the HTML5 keyword for defining animations. An animation is what? It's nothing but a couple of states which are repeated one after the other, and each state has a time associated with it and a transition function associated with it. So I'm saying that from a transform which is a rotate of 0 to a transform which is a rotate of -360, so one rotation anticlockwise, that defines my animation. This is a very simple animation. You can add a couple of steps. You can say at 10% what happens, 20% what happens, and inside those curly braces you can write all those properties which you want to change. So you can have at 10% size must be this, at 20% size must be this, and all that. So this is how an animation is defined. It's not applied anywhere, it's just a definition of an animation. And then in the second part of the code, in the picture, I'm saying that please apply the animation called rotate, make the duration of the animation as 6 seconds. The animation transition function must be linear. There are a couple of predefined transition functions like linear, ease in, ease out, ease in out, and then you can define any Bezier functions that you want to. So it will say cubic Bezier, open bracket, all those parameters, close bracket, and it will use the cubic Bezier function over there. So you say, and then you say how much is the delay for the animation. So I don't want delay, I immediately want to rotate. So 0. How many times you want to rotate? Infinite times you want to rotate. And the next parameter is whether you want to do the alternates, that is from to from to from, or you just want to say from to to, like that. So there are a couple of parameters that define this animation over there. That's how the animation gets defined. The second one about rotation about an arbitrary axis, that's done by WebKit transform origin. So if I don't specify this parameter called WebKit transform origin, the rotation happens around the center of the object. But if I specify WebKit transform origin, then the origin is transformed with respect to, very weird but still true, with respect to the top left coordinate of the object. So when I'm saying WebKit transform origin is 0, 0, I'm effectively saying that please keep the origin or the axis of transformation as the left axis of the image. So here is a simple image which has a padding, that's why you see that gray part and then the image. And so the entire image is that gray part or opaque part plus the image. And on the left axis over there is what the origin lies, so it starts rotating around it. That's it, there is nothing else over there. These like 5 lines of code will add animation and will also add transformations. Cool, drag and drop. So I have already shown you drag and drop. This is how it works. And what do you do? There are probably one line, 3 functions. Any object that you want to drag, you say draggable is equal to true. And on drag start, what event you want to fire, you say drag of whatever code you want to write. Any object that you want the destination of dragging, you say on drop, whatever event needs to be fired, and on drag over. So I'm not dropping, but I'm moving the object on that area, whatever event needs to be fired. So there are 3 functions that you need to write: which object is draggable and what happens when the drag starts, which object is the drop location and what happens when the image is dropped over there, and what happens when the image is hovered in place of instead of dropping. So these are like one line functions. So for example, prevent default is used to prevent the default behavior that nothing should happen. And then I'm saying that get did. So for example, when I'm dragging the stuff, I'm just getting the ID of the element and I'm putting it in the data transfer object of the event. And when I'm dropping, I'm just extracting that ID, I'm getting the element, and I'm just appending it as a child. It's absolutely nothing like 2 lines of JavaScript code. The network detection. Let me come back to here later on. Let's talk about history API first. So what is history API doing? The history API is nothing but, so if you want to, fiddle with the history, the only thing that you need to do is to tell history, save this state, and that's it. When the history, when you press the back button, you will, an event called pop state will be fired, and then you will get the state back, and then you have to write a code to parse it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm saying that these are all the image nodes which are rotating over there, get their IDs, change the URL to show all these image nodes one after the other, and just push the state with that URL. So in the history, I'm pushing the states one after the other. So when I press the back button, the top state will be popped off. The browser doesn't know what to do because I have pushed it, so I have to handle the pop state function. I'm again saying that please split, because I have added that equal to over here, I want to split that on that equal to, and I'm going to set the images in that rotating wheel. So set images will take the images and set in the rotating wheel, and get current image IDs will just iterate over them and get their IDs. So that's like hacking into the browser history to get to push the state and to get the state back. And how do I do the network detection? Is basically by using the HTML5 API called navigator.online. The navigator.online, unfortunately, there is no event that is fired when you change from online to offline, so you have to continuously poll. So I'm saying that I'm setting an set interval of 250, every 250 milliseconds I can poll, and I'm saying that if it's online, then keep the animation running, otherwise keep the animation paused. WebKit animation play state is yet another parameter that can be changed to change the state of the animation. It's animation play state. For Chrome, it's WebKit animation play state. If it's running, it will keep on running. If it's paused, it will keep on paused. So what I'm doing is every 250 milliseconds, I'm looking the state of the network. If it's online, let it run. If it's not online, stop it. That's all 5 lines and it's working. I'm bored of the lecture. Let's play a game. Okay, now this game does not use Flash. It's purely HTML5 based game, and in next 5 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to build this game. One line answer, it uses Canvas. What is Canvas? Canvas is this new buzzword, new technology that is introduced with HTML5 that lets you draw Arbit pictures on a wall or on a paper or whatever, on a space, and build whatever you want. Canvas and SVG are 2 complementary technologies. Canvas is for bitmaps, SVG is for vector drawings. So this is what I'm just using a canvas. Every brick I have painted separately That ball I have painted separately, and movement I'm tracking with the mouse. So how do I do that? There is a canvas element that is created. Understand that you cannot write anything between the canvas and end canvas. Every code, all code must be JavaScript based. So our first stdio.h line, I take the context of the canvas, and these are some helper functions that will draw circles and rectangles. What I'm doing? I'm saying begin a path, draw an arc from this location to this location, anti-clockwise, clockwise, whatever. Go and look up the details of these parameters, close the path, fill it with the given color, and that's how a circle is formed. When I do an arc from 0 to 360 degrees, a circle is formed. Similarly, there is a rectangle function which we say ctx.rect. So all these base functions like drawing a circle, drawing a rectangle, and all that are provided by Canvas. You can use them to build complex stuff. So I have used the function circle to build that ball. I have used the rectangle function to build all those bricks over there. How do I add motion? Little bit tricky, little bit hack, but it works. What I'm doing is, every time I'm clearing the canvas, I'm drawing a circle from x, y as the origin and radius as 10, and I'm saying that increase last two lines of this function, increase x by dx, y by dy, and if it goes beyond, then just reflect. So if x plus dx goes beyond the limit, then just make dx is equal to minus dx, so it reflects along x-axis, otherwise it reflects along y-axis. Okay? That's how I do it, the reflection, and this is exactly the code which is running over there in the browser that you see. And finally, how do I restrict the ball bouncing from the handle? I just make sure that that reflection happens only when the x coordinate of the ball is between the left coordinate and the right coordinate of the brick. So that's what the highlighted part does. If x is greater than the handle x and x is less than the handle x and the width of the handle, then it will mean that the x coordinate is between the width. So I just reflect, otherwise I clear the interval, which means that the ball will no more bounce. Okay? Fair enough. Is there anybody whose birthday is today? I'll give you a mug if it's your birthday. Okay. Can I have audio on? Can I have audio on? Yeah, I'll give you a mug. I'll play it once again. Look at the keys. Don't clap, I'll tell you why to clap. The reason why you should clap, and listen to me carefully, is because this sound is not being streamed from the server from any audio file. It is generated right here in the client in front of you. When I press the key, please audio. Look at this, high frequency, low frequency. I'm not a singer or somebody, but I don't know which keys are sa re ga ma, but whatever. So HTML5 gives you an ability not just to play the audio files. I mean, there is an audio tag which will help you to play the audio files, but not just play the audio files, but do the audio synthesis right there in the browser. And how do you do it? Some complex code, let's not go into the details, but let me speak out what is there. First of all, I create an array. Of course, an audio file is a huge blob which consists of a lot of things which I don't understand. So there is a big blob over here. On the first line, you see there is something called uint8 array. This is a new construct of HTML5. HTML5 introduces data types in JavaScript now. Earlier, JavaScript was untyped language. Now there are data types. You can have int array, int8 array, int16 array, int32 array, and so on. Uint and signed integers. So I'm creating a big array over here. Look at this. There is a place where I'm saying put the total size here, where the total size of the audio file will be written later on. It's all zeros. And at the end, I'm saying how many samples, audio samples I want to put. Again, that's 0. I'm creating this array. I'm taking the internal buffer of this array. And then there is again a little bit of complex code that will make the wave that will be played. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a data view, which is a low-level handle to the array. I'm saying that at the fourth byte, put the sample length, at 40 byte, put this value, append this information to the header, and finally extract the blob out of it. Once that is done, the way I play the audio is again a couple of lines of code. At the end, you can see that I'm creating a URL by creating an object out of that blob. I'm calling the new audio object API, again specific to HTML5, and I'm just doing a play.play. Here, this play node takes a frequency, takes a duration, and you can see in the code that frequency is being used, duration is being used, and it will play that frequency for that duration once this code is executed. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see that I'm playing, sound please, I'm playing 220 hertz frequency. Let me change it to this one. Okay, it's generated over here. I'm writing random values, for example, over here. Okay, whatever frequency I'm writing over there, that frequency is generated. The people in the top row, the front rows can see the URL that is being generated. I'll read it, I can't read it from here. I'll read it, it's something like blob.local HTTPS localhost followed by a random sequence of characters. That is the URL that is generated when I press the key. Okay, let's move ahead to some 5-star demos. Again, what are you going to see next is purely HTML5. It's an HTML5 based terminal, and I can say ls cd test, ls cd abcd, ls. So when I showed this demo in Hyderabad, one person came to me and he said, so what, you told that HTML5 is such a fancy language and all that you can do is a terminal of 1970s. You can't do anything more than that? And then I said, fair enough, let's see this. Files are added as I drag them. And then he said, what nonsense, you have already shown us drag and drop, show us something new. So then I said, fair enough, look at this. The 3D representation of the entire file system. Let me drag this maps, and you can see the maps over here. Okay, let me drag this, you can see image. See on the 3D image that images are getting added as soon as I drag and drop over there, drag and drop them. Okay, so how did we do this? You enter presentation mode. Okay, how did we do this? This all fancy 3D stuff is WebGL, which is like one of the best additions to HTML5. Go back and look at WebGL if this gives you a kick. It's not possible for me to explain, but it's like bigger brother of Canvas. Canvas can do 2D things, WebGL can do 3D things exactly like this. The way Canvas has basic controls to do circles and rectangles, this has basic controls to draw spheres and other couple of stuff. But there are a couple of things like file system which I'm hacking into in this demo, which I would like to explain over here. So this is how I tap into the file system. The HTML5 gives you a handle to individual file system, and every user has his own file system, so you cannot really disturb somebody else's file system. So I'm saying I request a file system, so I get a handle over the file system. Every user has a separate root, so I say fs.root.get a file. This is how I can read a file. This drag and drop was able to write a file, so this is how I can create a writer and then write a file. This is how I can delete a file and all that. So all those CD and drag and drop and RM and all those functions that the person who built the demo, emulated on the command line was basically for by using all these file handles. So that's file handles that help us to do those file stuff, and the 3D thing is by WebGL and the fancy UI and all that you see. For example, you see a nice gradient over there. Let me see if you can see from here. 3D. Oh, so you can see a nice gradient from the green to dark green. That is the CSS3 gradient which I talked in the start of the presentation. So there are a couple of nice HTML5 stuff that is brought together and helps to build this demo. And well, I have like 16 more seconds left. I'm going to take 5 more minutes. So let's do this 10th demo. Now I'm not going to, these are like 5-star demos, so all of them are based on WebGL. So I'm just going to show them how powerful WebGL is and what it can do. So here is the bookcase. I have just opened it in full screen for our help. These are all Google books. You all know that the Google books has a lot of books that you can read or look into. And this is just a UI representation of Google books. And this is not random image. I mean, if I click into a book, it's going to take me to the Google Books website and I can read the book from here. Okay, so as I promised, there are 10 demos that I showed you. I probably did not teach you anything, but I probably got you excited about HTML5 enough so that you'll go back and you will at least look into Navigator object or WebGL or Canvas or whatever. Before I take your leave, let's have a look at a couple of cool demos. Now I have already explained you a couple of technologies. So let's see this nice, very simple demo, but what HTML5 animation can do. No, wait. This is a walking man, but I'll show you how it is implemented. It's just a couple of divs that are doing animation, that are being animated and transformed. Okay, there is nothing else. Okay, there are a couple of divs and some small images that are pinned onto them. Okay, and as you can see the board at the back, it doesn't use any JavaScript. It has all CSS and HTML because this is what transformation and animation, and we all know that is implemented using CSS. Let's go to something else. Again, using what CSS3 transformations can do. Look at this. These are all Flickr photos. Okay, I can put my photo gallery like that. I mean, the person who has built the demo. I'm changing it with arrow keys. It's not automatically moving. I'm changing it with arrow keys, and I can arrange my photos in such a nice looking fashion. And what else? I can show you yet another demo. Yeah, blow up the video is nice. So this is an HTML5 video which is running. There is a canvas that is overlapping the video, and this canvas takes care of the effect that you're going to see. If I click on this video, see what happens. Okay, so of course, all these demos are not built by me. I have just collected them. Most of the presentation demos were built by me, but not all this. They have collected from the net. And last demo, can we have lights off? Completely off, yeah. And whichever loud music you want to start, you can start.
Sushi, play the music. Sushi, play the music.
Okay, lights on, please. Okay, so this is again canvas. As you can see, there is no 3D going on over here. There is a particle annihilator and the particles are jumping around. No music now. The particles are jumping. No music. Okay, so that's a small thing that you can do with, that's a big thing probably that you can do with canvas. So that's all about all these demos. If you want to dive deeper, there are a couple of links present over here. You can see not all browsers probably implement all these features. So you might want to look into which browser implements what. So you can go to modernizer.com or caniuse.com. You can ask questions, you can file Chrome bugs. Lot of... Your videos are still playing. My video is still playing. Which video is still playing? Okay, fair enough. Now it's okay. So you can file bugs, you can probably ask your questions and all that. And if you are interested in this presentation, are you? Okay, so this presentation is already available online. bit.ly/HTML5 magic. Okay, HTML5 number followed by magic. So bit.ly/HTML5 magic is the place. Please understand, please use Chrome for this viewing this presentation because I am lazy and I've only added WebKit as the vendor prefix in all the effects that I've added. So if you open Mozilla or Internet Explorer, these effects will not work, unfortunately, because I've not added the code for them. So on that note, I'll take your leave. There is probably no time for question answers, but I'm available outside for whatever questions you want to have. Thanks a lot, and it was nice talking to you.